The world, which was completely grey, was ruled by everlasting dragons. Then fire emerged, and brought with it heat and cold, life and death, light and dark. It brought to life a world that was completely achromatic. Powerful souls within the first flame were found by creatures who overthrew the dragons and brought forth the Age of Gods. It is a firekeeper's duty to watch over a bonfire and keep it lit. A bonfire being an extension of the first flame. Anastasia of Astora and Irina of Karim are just some of the firekeepers spread throughout the lands. I've always wondered, where do the firekeepers come from? Are they handmade or are they mass-produced? Why in the world would one become a firekeeper? Perhaps the answer lies within their similarities. Yet they don't seem to share a homeland, nor a religion. Other than being women, they don't seem to have a lot in common. And then again, perhaps we simply haven't stumbled upon the male firekeepers yet. All firekeepers are, however, corporeal manifestations of their bonfire and a draw for humanity. Could humanity be their common link? When one thinks of humanity, one thinks of the dark soul, of furtive Pigmy, and of Manus. Manus is a primeval being, a being of ancient times who, under the advice of a primordial serpent, was awakened by the people of Ulasil. He was submitted to torture by Ulasilians, and his humanity ran wild, which triggered the abyss. Why Manus, though? There must have been other individuals tortured throughout centuries, yet none of them fathered an abyss. There is a theory that's been floating around for a while now. It states that Manus and the furtive Pigmy are one and the same. Who was the furtive Pigmy? Pigmy was one of the creatures who came from the dark and found a special Lord Soul in the first flame. He found the Dark Soul. He split the Dark Soul into fragments of humanity. No amount of torture would ever trigger the abyss again, because Pigmy was one of a kind. He was special. He was the father of humanity. Perhaps for those reasons, only he had the capability of fathering the abyss. How Pigmy lived his life remains a mystery. Perhaps Pigmy had children, and his children had children forevermore, and the Pigmy bloodline lived on. Perhaps descendants of the Pigmy line had a special link to the Dark Soul and a special link to humanity, due to their kindred relationship with Pigmy. And perhaps they had the potential to become beacons that, through some unknown mechanism, fueled the bonfires. The first flame was instrumental in bringing about the Age of Fire, Age of Light, and thus the Age of Gods. Of course the gods would want to keep the first flame lit at all costs, some more than others it seems. Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, went as far as burning himself alive to temporarily fuel the first flame once it went dim. Why would he not manipulate others for his cause? What if we imagine a scenario in which the mechanism which uses the firekeepers to fuel the bonfire is a curse orchestrated by Lord Gwyn? What if Gwyn secretly placed a curse on the descendants of the furtive Pigmy, exploiting the fact that they have a special ability to interact with humanity due to their heritage? Doing so, Gwyn condemned them into lives of firekeepers, forcing them to draw humanity and fuel the bonfires in order to prolong the Age of Gods. Perhaps the curse worked in combination with a trigger. A trigger, for example, could be a traumatic event which would activate the curse, in a similar way that torture endured by Manus ended up activating the abyss. After all, the firekeepers seem somewhat unwell physically or emotionally. What if, after suffering some trauma, Pygmy's descendants experience an unshakable desire to become firekeepers? Without knowing why or questioning where that desire comes from, they blindly follow it. If we think back, furtive Pigmy was the one who found the Dark Soul. He was the one who eventually brought out the darkness of the abyss. Pigmy is perhaps the very opposite of fire, the very opposite of light, and so are his descendants. Meaning that the firekeepers, the maidens who really belong in the dark, are shackled to a bonfire and forced to feed it, keeping it alive, against their very nature. Could that explain the firekeeper's nonchalantness about the coming Age of Dark? Perhaps she sees the truth when she receives the firekeeper's eyes. She senses the darkness within her and understands that she is nothing but a pawn. She wants to be unshackled from her bonfire, and she would gladly put it out.
A world without fire. Ashen One, is this truly thy wish? Of course. I serve thee, and will do as thou bidst. This will be our private affair. No one else may know of this. Stay thy path. Find lords to link the fire, and I will blindly tend to the flame until the day of thy grand betrayal.